Fixed index annuities. There can oftentimes be a lot of confusion when it comes to annuities within the retirement planning space. Some people totally turn their nose up at annuities. Other people really love the principal protection they can provide, but annuities aren't one size fits all. Really, within the planning space, we talk about two different types of annuities. The first type being an income annuity that, of course, provides you and your spouse guaranteed income for the rest of your life or for both of your lives. And that can be a really great tool to close a gap between what your Social Security and pension income is and what amount of money you need in retirement. But the other type of annuity is a growth annuity. A growth annuity is something where we can tie to a specific index, for example, the S&P 500, and we're able to take advantage of a floor of 0 while still being able to receive some of the performance of that specific index. For example, if you have a cap of 10% on the S&P and a floor of 0, that means if the S&P were to do 15%, you're going to get your 10%. But if in the following year the S&P were to lose 10%, all of your gains are locked in. The best way to describe this is that it's similar to a ski lift. On a ski lift, if someone falls off, you don't start sliding back down the mountain, much like you would in a bit of a market reset, but instead on a ski lift, you just wait for the power to come back on and you start moving right back up that mountain. That's exactly how a fixed index annuity or a growth annuity can function. And it can be a pretty big difference maker when we talk about which amount, depending upon the market circumstance, for where we're going to take distributions from in retirement. Now, where does this have a place potentially in your portfolio? Well, a lot of people may look at this as something like a bond asset class replacement. With a bond asset class replacement, really what we're trying to do with bonds is to get a stable rate of return along with some capital appreciation and, of course, the income that comes along with bonds. And with a growth annuity, we're trying to do something similar, but we have that guarantee that we're going to have the principal protection, right? How do we have that guarantee? It's because it is an insurance product. And that's exactly the way that we're trying to use it within a portfolio, right? If we have a portion of our portfolio that is guaranteed to be principal protected, rather than having something like default risk, that may empower us to take a little bit more risk on the other side of our portfolio and potentially invest in investments with a higher possible upside. So if this is something that you haven't talked about before, something that you're interested in, and you're wondering how that may fit within your retirement plan, I want to encourage you to go to strategicretirementsolutions.com and schedule a meeting so that we can have the opportunity to further educate on this topic, talk about your retirement plan and its full scope, and how you can start to make that transition from having a portfolio to having a plan within retirement, right? If we have a plan, then we can get you back to enjoying all of those wonderful things that you had planned for your time in retirement.